There's a landmark trade agreement on the table that's been in the works for almost 20 years, and now it's finally set to reshape global trade. Today, we're going to unpack the massive free trade deal between India and the European Union, what it is, how it really works, and why it's such a big deal for literally billions of people.
You might have heard it being called the mother of all deals. So why the dramatic name? Well, because after nearly 2 decades of back and forth, it's one of the biggest and most ambitious trade agreements India has ever even attempted. It really is a huge shift in how global economic partnerships are being formed.
To get a sense of the sheer scale, you just have to look at the numbers. This deal creates a single, unified market of around 2 billion consumers. Just think about that. That's India's massive population combined with all 27 member nations of the European Union.
And what about economic power? Well, together, India and the EU account for about a quarter of the entire global GDP. So you see, this isn't just another trade deal. It's the creation of a brand new economic heavyweight on the world stage.
Okay, so we know it's huge, but how does an agreement this massive actually work in practice? Let's break down the basic mechanics, and it all really starts with one simple concept: the tariff.
So a tariff is basically a tax that gets slapped on imported goods. It makes foreign products more expensive, usually to protect local companies. The main goal of this whole deal is to get rid of these taxes, to tear down those walls, making it way cheaper and easier for India and the EU to do business with each other.
And to see just how big of a deal this is, let's look at the car industry. Right now, a European car sold in India faces tariffs as high as 110%. That basically doubles its price. This deal could slash that all the way down to just 10%. I mean, that one change completely rewrites the rules of the market.
And look, this isn't just about physical things like cars. The deal goes way beyond that. It's opening up markets for services, it's making it easier for skilled professionals, doctors, engineers, to work across borders, and it even gets India and the EU on the same page for really important stuff like digital and sustainability standards.
All right, so let's zoom in on the impact for India. For some of its key industries, this is going to be an absolute engine for growth, a real game changer.
Let's just imagine for a second you're an Indian textile exporter. Before this deal, you're facing high EU tariffs that make your products really expensive over there. That squeezes your profits and means you get fewer orders. But after the deal, poof, those tariffs are gone. Suddenly, your goods are way more competitive. And that means more orders, more revenue, and more jobs in a sector that employs millions of people.
And this isn't just some theory. We're already seeing this feeling on the ground. Textile exporters in hubs like Panipat, who were getting hit hard with tariffs in other markets, are now looking at Europe and seeing a major new opportunity for growth and, optimism.
Now, for consumers in India, the impact is eventually going to show up right there on the store shelves. European goods, everything from olive oil and chocolates to luxury cars, they're all going to become more affordable over time. But it's not just about lower prices. It's about bringing in a whole new wave of competition and choice into the Indian market.
Okay, so let's flip the coin and look at what's in it for Europe, because this is just as much a strategic victory for them as it is a financial one.
So what's the most immediate financial impact? Well, European companies are set to save around 4 billion euros in tariffs every single year. That is a massive amount of cash that can be put right back into growth and innovation. So what are the big wins for Europe here? Well, on one side, you have a major export boost for industries like machinery and cars, giving them direct access to India's huge and growing middle class. But on the other side, and this might be even more important, it's a massive strategic win. This deal lets European companies spread their risk, creating a powerful alternative to being too reliant on any one country for their supply chains.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. This isn't something that's going to change everything overnight. Think of it more as a long-term roadmap for a whole new era of global trade.
And this new era is going to unfold over the next decade or so. The final approvals are planned for 2026, with a full rollout starting in early 2027. We should see some major growth in trade by 2030, and the deeper partnership goals go all the way out to 2035. The key thing to remember is this is a marathon, not a sprint.
But of course, that road to 2035 isn't perfectly paved. We need a little reality check here because there are some pretty big hurdles to clear. The agreement still has to get through the messy political process of being approved by dozens of individual parliaments. And even after that, Indian businesses will face another kind of challenge, meeting the EU's famously tough quality and environmental standards to really get their products in the door. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground, so let's boil this entire historic agreement down to the most important things you need to remember.
So, what are the 3 essential takeaways here? First, at its heart, this whole deal is about getting rid of taxes. Up to 99% of goods will eventually be traded tariff-free. Second, it creates a real win-win. Businesses get new customers, and consumers get more choices at better prices. And finally, and this is crucial, remember this is about more than just money. It's about building a deep, strategic alliance between 2 of the world's biggest democracies.
And that leads us to the final and most important question. As these 2 giants build this powerful economic bridge, it's not just about trade numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about creating a whole new pillar in the global economy. So the real question we're left with is, how is this alliance going to fundamentally reshape the global balance of power?